We spend way too much money on things that we don't need. Whether that be cell phones, computers, TVs, or yes, cameras, we often place illogical limitations on ourselves based on what we don't have. I've caught myself doing the same thing, placing barriers down which can only be broken through with a new expensive item. I could have realistically made do with what I already had, but I convinced myself that I needed something new, flashy, and expensive to accomplish my goals in life, as sad as that may sound. It was only until the middle of last year when I began making a conscious effort to do more with less. I ended up filming an entire documentary with an 11-year-old camera that I got off of eBay, and sure, it took a little more creativity to get what I was going for out of that camera, but it taught me a lot and it made me a more creative person in the process. So what am I getting at with all of this? Well, over the past few years, I've noticed a lot of people who want to start a hobby in photography but are put off by the $1,000 price tag of a new camera. Well, I'm here today to demonstrate that you don't need $1,000, $500, or even $100, and in fact, you can begin this whole art form with a simple $20 bill. This is the Canon D300. It cost me $20 and came with a battery grip, a few batteries, a charger, and an 18 to 55mm lens. For the purposes of this video though, I will be using the Canon 55 to 250mm IS2 lens, as it provides a sharper image and, at least to me, is easier to compose photos with, as I always like shooting with telephotos. The Canon 55 to 250mm IS2 costs about $50 to $60 on eBay, so if you follow exactly what I did here, your total will be about $70, but I don't recommend you follow exactly what I did here, and in fact, just look for whatever works in your price range and your area, because I know a lot of you are from other countries and parts of the world, so this is all gonna change a lot based on location and circumstance, so just look for whatever works in your price range. The point of this video isn't to talk about the Canon D300 in this specific lens, but I'm more trying to demonstrate that you can do a lot with a cheap camera in the $20 price range, or even lower, or even higher. Do whatever works for you. This video is really just trying to show you that you can do a lot with a cheap camera, not that you can do a lot with a 300D in particular. Like, use whatever, basically. The point I'm trying to get across is that it does not matter what camera you use, but rather that you go out and use it. Taking photos is the most important part here, and that's exactly what I'm going to do right about now. Okay, squatting like this is gonna be really awkward, and I think I'm severely backlit. Hold on. So I'm here at the Canon 300D in an abandoned insane asylum, and I filmed a lot of videos here, and surprisingly, I haven't been shanked by a drug dealer yet, which is always a plus. I'll just be using this lens because it's in the price range of this camera, and it's probably what you guys could all afford if you're getting this camera or something similar, so. And also, I'll probably edit the script to talk about this, but the little display on this camera is horrible. I'm the type of person who, looks at the photos after I've taken them, make sure everything's exposed and focused properly, but the little display on this thing is so bad, it makes everything look either super washed out or super dim, and I can't tell what I'm doing, so the photos are probably going to reflect that because I can't look back at the photos I've taken on this camera because the viewfinder or the little display is just so terrible. But anyway, I'm gonna go shoot some photos. Okay, so after trying to use this camera for about 30 minutes, I'm noticing how awful it is in terms of modern day use. First off, the little display on the back of this where you can look at the photos you've taken is utterly useless. I can't tell if anything's exposed or in focus at all. It simultaneously blows out the whites and also over darkens the shadows in the viewfinder, so I can't tell the quality of the photos I've taken, like, whatsoever. Also, I'm discovering it was a huge mistake to take photos in an abandoned building when it's 4 degrees outside, because I am freezing my ass off. But anyway, I will persevere and probably get frostbite, HIV, and an opioid addiction, because there are needles everywhere and it's only a matter of time before one goes through my shoe, so it's an abandoned building, what can I say? Also, there's snow coming through the window that this camera is set on, so let's just take that out of here. One more thing, actually. This camera has a light meter like any digital camera does, and so you can see if something is exposed or not exposed. This one's all over the place. I can hold on one single object and it will change constantly and tell me that's both overexposed and underexposed, so I can't tell what I'm doing. This camera's so gonna fall. I forgot my tripod, so it's sitting on a dilapidated windowsill in this abandoned mental hospital, so it might fall out the window. Anyway, I've spent the last few hours taking photos on this thing, but I have a problem now. So the last few photos I've been trying to take, they just come out as corrupted. Like, they show up fine once I've taken them, but then the second it tries writing to the card, it ends up just corrupting the image. Here, I'll show you real quick. See, so every time I take a photo, it comes out as corrupted data. So I think it's a CF card, not the camera, but the only spare CF card I have on me is the one in my Canon 5D, which is a 256 gigabyte CF card, which this obviously does not support, being, 16 years old, so I think I'm done taking photos on this camera for today. I'll take a few more for fun on my Canon 5D, but that'll have to be it for this camera, unfortunately. So don't go outside when it's 4 degrees Fahrenheit. Just never do that. I'd like to say it's been a while since I've photographed abandoned buildings because I kinda need an excuse for some of these, but regardless, I did get some solid photos out of it. This one has to be my favorite, and while all the photos I showed you were unedited, I did give this one a bit of processing as I took it from a really poor angle. All the other photos though are unedited, so you have a good idea of what this camera can produce straight out of body without any color correction. Every photo taken with this camera has a strong green tint, and I couldn't find a way to export in anything other than JPEG, so the photos you get out of this camera aren't exactly optimal in terms of quality. So just in case I haven't bitched at you enough about how bad the display is on this camera, it's really bad. The display on the back of this camera is at a resolution of 120 by 144, and you can't see shit on it. That really bad resolution actually would have been okay for me if the display wasn't total garbage, because it makes every photo you preview on it look very overexposed when in reality it's very dark. All these photos that you can tell are underexposed actually looked very much overexposed on the camera's little display. So I thought I was blowing out the background on here, but in fact it's a little bit too dark. The light meter doesn't help at all either, as it jumps around all over the place when I sit stationary looking at a single subject. So if I'm pointing the camera at the sky, for example, it will tell me that I'm both overexposed and then shift to being underexposed and then back overexposed. So it's all over the place, and I have no way of knowing if anything I'm doing is at proper exposure. It takes this long to preview a single image off of the CF card, and I'm making you wait this whole time just so you get a vibe of how painful it is. And just think, you're waiting this long for each and every individual image that you want to preview. So let's say you want to preview back every image you take while you're out somewhere, and you take an average of 50 images a day. Well, you're going to be sitting like that 50 times a day then, so it's really bad. All my numerous complaints aside, this camera is $20, and it comes with a lens, batteries, battery grip, and literally anything you need to get started. And so, considering that it's a fully functional camera that produced a few images that I actually really love, like some of the pictures that came out of this camera I like a lot, so just considering that it's a fully functional camera that can produce good results and can maybe even be comparable to a cell phone in some circumstances, I'd say this is a fantastic learning tool, and I think a lot of people would enjoy getting a camera similar to this. So again, let me reiterate that I'm not saying you should get a Canon 300D, but instead just look around in this price range if you're thinking about getting into photography. Before you go out and consider spending $600 on a new camera, just think about what's available for less money on the used market, because there's a lot out there and photography is not as expensive as people like to make it out to be. Yes, the camera I'm recording this on was $600. Yes, the camera I towed around with me is $3,500. Yes, I have a lot of expensive lenses, but you don't need that to get started. You only need that once you've spent a few years getting to know photography, in which case, then you would actually benefit from expensive gear once you know what you're doing. But when you're just starting out, it's completely fine to get a camera at this price range. So don't actively pursue getting a 300D or whatever I featured in this video. Get whatever works for you in this price range, and whatever price range you have for that matter. If you have a lot of money to burn, go burn it, because you will like having a more expensive camera. If you have even less money than that, then go get something cheaper, because cheaper cameras actually exist, even below $20. So anyway, that's it for this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this new style of content, as I know it's a lot different than what I made previously, but I just hope you guys enjoyed it watching it as much as I enjoyed making it, as even though it's way different than what I usually make, it was a lot of fun to do. I'd love to see your guys' comments down below about this camera, or really any budget camera in general, as I'm really interested in the discussion this sparks on budget photography, and I read every single comment, so make sure to leave one. Remember to like and subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.